There's something in you you don't want to see. You bury it. You deny it. You pretend it doesn't exist. But it's there, just under the surface. Maybe one day someone says something that cuts deeper than it should, or a moment of success leaves you uncomfortable, almost guilty. You snap, you shut down, you overreact, and you don't know why. It's not the situation, it's your shadow. And what if I told you? The part of yourself you keep suppressing is the one that's quietly controlling you. Today, we're diving into one of the most powerful and most misunderstood concepts in all of psychology, the shadow, a core idea developed by Carl Gustav Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist and founder of analytical psychology. You'll learn why we all repress parts of ourselves, how the inner shadow is formed, and most importantly, how facing it, accepting it, and integrating it can make you whole again. We'll talk about the persona, the mask we wear. We'll explore the cost of repression and the path to deep inner freedom. But this isn't just theory. This is about you, what you hide, what you fear, and what you might become if you found the courage to finally look at everything. If you're curious, if you feel that something inside you has been waiting to be understood, stay with me until the end. This could change the way you think, and more importantly, the way you see yourself. And if this kind of content helps you grow, consider subscribing to the channel. It's free, it truly helps the channel, and it ensures you won't miss future deep dive videos like this one. Are you ready to finally face the part of yourself you've been running from? Let's begin. Part 1. Carl Jung and the truth about your shadow. The shadow is that part of ourselves we'd rather not see. Carl Jung. Before we go deeper, let's set the stage. Carl Gustav Jung wasn't just a Swiss psychiatrist. He was a true explorer of the inner world, someone who dared to map the hidden parts of the human psyche. While Freud focused on instinct and repression, Jung went further. He introduced ideas like the collective unconscious, archetypes, the individuation process, and most famously, the shadow. What is the shadow? According to Jung, the shadow is everything you are that you don't want to admit. It's made up of the thoughts, emotions, desires, and impulses you've judged as unacceptable, either by your upbringing, your society, or yourself. So you hide them, you lock them away in the dark corners of your mind. But what you avoid doesn't disappear, it waits. And while you're trying to be a good person, your shadow quietly runs the show. It distorts your perception, triggers overreactions, causes friction in relationships. You think you're in control, but unless you face your shadow, it's the one behind the wheel. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. The persona, your social mask. To understand the shadow, we also need to look at its opposite, the persona. The persona is the mask you wear to function in society, to be liked, accepted, respected. It's the version of you that smiles when you're tired, agrees when you're frustrated, stays polite when you want to scream. But every mask has a cost. The more you perform, the more you deny anything that doesn't fit that role. And the more you deny, the more shadow you create. A man who always wants to appear strong might bury his vulnerability. A woman who wants to be seen as gentle might repress her anger. Someone obsessed with social success may hide jealousy, laziness, insecurity, or fear. But here's the problem. When you hide something long enough, you forget it's even there. And what you forget controls you in silence. The shadow isn't evil. Let's be clear. Your shadow isn't some inner demon. It's not the dark side in a Hollywood sense. It's simply the part of you you've rejected. And often there's gold hidden in the shadow, because what you repress might also include your natural power, your assertiveness, creativity, ambition, intuition. You buried it not because it was wrong, but because somewhere along the way you were taught it wasn't acceptable. The shadow becomes dangerous when it's ignored. Why does this matter? Because as long as you deny your shadow, you live in fragments, split, disconnected, surface level. You say things like, "I'm not that kind of person." But your shadow waits. And when your guard is down, in a crisis, an argument, a late-night spiral, it erupts. You think you're avoiding shame or fear, but what you're really avoiding is a piece of your own truth. Begin looking. Let's make it personal. Take a breath and ask yourself, what's the one thing I really don't want others to know about me? Whatever came to mind just now, that might be the beginning of your shadow work. If this part resonated with you, give the video a like. It's a small gesture for you, but a big one for helping this channel grow. And tell me in the comments, what's one trait or emotion you've spent years trying to hide or suppress? No shame here. This is a space for awareness, not judgment. Next up, how to recognize your shadow when it shows up, approach it without fear, and start transforming it into power. But first, remember this. You don't have to love your shadow, but you can't keep pretending it's not there. Part 2. Why we bury our shadow. Everyone carries a shadow. The less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. Carl Jung. You might be wondering, if the shadow is part of me, why do I reject it? Why not just embrace it? The truth is, it's not stupidity. It's not weakness. It's a deeply rooted survival mechanism. It starts in childhood. Picture this. You come into the world like a blank page. You feel everything: joy, anger, curiosity, jealousy, wonder, fear. It's all alive. It's all natural. But very quickly, you're taught a lesson. Some emotions are welcomed. Others get you punished. You cry? You're told to stop being dramatic. You're too energetic? You're labeled a problem. You ask too many questions? You're seen as disrespectful. You want to shine? You're called arrogant. So you adjust. You begin to hide certain parts of yourself, just to be loved, accepted, included. And little by little, your shadow is born. Then society finishes the job. This suppression doesn't stop with family. It's reinforced by school, media, culture, religion, work. You're taught to be polite, productive, normal, to fit in. But what happens to your anger, your envy, your craving to be seen, your chaos? Society tells you that part of you is wrong. Push it down. So you do. And without even realizing it, you start living half a life. The shadow consists of everything you refuse to be, but still are. What you bury starts using you. Here's the dangerous part. What you hide doesn't disappear. It doesn't die. It gathers power in your unconscious, and eventually it leaks out. You blow up over a minor comment. You sabotage your own success. You harshly judge others for traits you secretly carry. Ever wonder why? Because the shadow doesn't go away, it just moves from your mind into your projections. You push down your ambition. You despise people who show off. You hide your vulnerability. You mock others for being too emotional. You bury your insecurity. You attack anyone who seeks attention. But that's not really you talking. It's your shadow speaking through you. The modern shadow, social media, and the double life. In today's world, shadow repression is on overdrive. Online, people preach confidence, positivity, authenticity, but behind the scenes, they're drowning in anxiety, comparison, burnout. The more perfect the image, the louder the shadow screams behind the scenes. They show strength, but suffer in silence. They talk mindset, but battle addiction, self-doubt, and imposter syndrome. This isn't judgment, it's a mirror. What you don't face within eventually overtakes you. Even Carl Jung had to face his shadow. Carl Jung didn't just theorize about this, he lived it. After breaking away from Freud, Jung spiraled into a deep internal crisis. He had visions, dreams, breakdowns. He withdrew from the world. He painted, he wrote, he faced himself. He called this period a confrontation with the unconscious. He said, "What you do not confront within yourself, you will meet as fate." That dark night of the soul wasn't a failure. It was the beginning of his most important work, the process of individuation, the path to becoming whole by integrating everything you are, even the parts you were taught to hate. And you, what are you still hiding? Take a quiet moment right now. Be brutally honest. What emotion did you learn to hide just to be accepted? Was it your anger, your need for attention, your jealousy, your ambition, your softness, your wildness? That's where your shadow lives, and that's where your healing begins. If this resonates with you, hit that like button. It helps this message reach more people. Share this video with someone who's been hiding a part of themselves. And drop a comment below. What's one part of you you've spent your life hiding and are finally ready to reclaim? No shame here. We're all walking each other home. Up next, how to recognize your shadow in everyday life and how to transform it into a source of clarity and personal power. Because facing your shadow isn't the end. It's the beginning of becoming whole. Part 3. How to face your shadow. Facing your shadow isn't glorious, it's humbling. But it's also the most freeing work you'll ever do. By now, you understand what the shadow is. You understand why we bury it. But the big question is, how do you actually face it without letting it swallow you? Here's the truth. You don't need to master this overnight. There's no perfect method, but there is a path. And on that path, there are powerful, practical tools. 1. Journaling, turning the light inward. Journalism isn't just writing your thoughts. It's a tool to say the things you're too afraid to admit out loud. All you need is a notebook, a question, and radical honesty. Here are a few prompts to start with. What do I constantly criticize in other people? In what moments do I feel unfairly attacked or misunderstood? What do I hide, even from my closest friends? If no one would judge me, what would I do differently? You might be shocked by what comes up, because often the traits that annoy you most in others are parts of yourself you haven't yet accepted. 2. Watching your projections, the mirror effect. What you deny in yourself, you see everywhere else, Carl Jung said. This is what Jung called projection. You judge someone harshly, feel oddly uncomfortable around someone, find yourself instantly hating or idolizing a person. Ask yourself, what is this person reflecting back to me that I don't want to see in myself? Do you call people arrogant? Maybe you're afraid to own your own value. Do you dislike loud or confident people? Maybe you've suppressed your need to be seen. Do you mock people for being emotional? Maybe you've buried your sensitivity. Hard truths, but liberating ones. Because every projection is a doorway back to yourself. 3. Embracing stillness, listening for the shadow. Today, silence is rare. We scroll, we binge, we distract ourselves constantly. Why? Because silence forces us to hear what's really going on inside. But here's where the work begins. You don't need to meditate for hours. Just sit for 10 minutes a day, no phone, no music, no distractions. Just you, your breath, and your thoughts. Notice what comes up, what memories float in, what emotions surface. That's your shadow knocking. Sit with it. Don't run. That's how you rebuild the most important relationship of your life, the one with yourself. 4. Working with a guide, therapy, or coaching. You don't have to do this work alone. A therapist, coach, or trained guide can help you explore the parts of yourself you've spent years avoiding. That's not weakness, that's bravery. Sometimes just having someone listen without judgment is enough to unlock parts of you you thought were gone forever. Their perspective becomes a mirror. Their questions become keys. And sometimes the part of you you were most ashamed of becomes your greatest strength. 5. Creative expression, giving the shadow a voice. The shadow isn't just your pain. It's also your fire, your untamed energy, your raw power. And creativity is one of the most powerful ways to channel it. Write, paint, make music, film, speak. Art is one of the only socially accepted ways to let the shadow speak, without hurting anyone. Real-life examples. Example 1. The creator who transforms his anger. You're angry, frustrated at injustice, tired of the system. Instead of blowing up, you turn that rage into a message, a post, a video, a powerful conversation. Suddenly, that negative emotion becomes a force for clarity and change. Example 2. The quiet soul who finds their voice. Maybe you've always been told you're too quiet, that you fade into the background. But maybe, in that shadow lies a deep well of presence, an ability to observe, to listen, to feel beyond words. Some of the most powerful speakers in the world say the least but speak the most truth. Integration doesn't mean elimination. Facing your shadow isn't about fixing a flaw. It's not about becoming perfect. It's about looking at the parts of yourself you've been running from and saying, yes, this is part of me, but it no longer controls me from the dark. It's about owning your anger without letting it ruin your relationships, acknowledging your fear without letting it stop your growth, seeing your jealousy without letting it poison your joy. When the shadow is integrated, it becomes power under control, intuition sharpened, creativity unleashed. If this spoke to you, give it a like. It helps more people see this message. Share this with someone who's struggling with self-doubt or stuck in old patterns. Comment below. Which tool are you most curious to try on your own journey? Journaling? Shadow spotting in your projections? Stillness? Art? Therapy? There's no right answer, just your next step. And don't forget to subscribe, because in the next video, we're going even deeper. You're not here to be perfect. You're here to become whole. Part 4, Toward Integration, Becoming Whole. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. Carl Jung. You've seen your shadow. Maybe you've started to explore it already. But there's one more step, the most important one. The step that turns understanding into inner transformation, integration. Because the goal isn't to get rid of your shadow or to fix it. Far from it. The goal is to become whole. The shadow doesn't vanish. It transforms. Most people think growing means getting rid of what's wrong. But Jung offers a very different path. You do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. You don't have to be perfect. You have to be complete, which means welcoming your strength and your vulnerabilities, embracing your contradictions without judgment, facing your impulses without being controlled by them, feeling your emotions without running away. This kind of inner wholeness is what creates lasting peace, not chasing the impossible ideal of a flawless personality. Your shadow holds your power. There's something deeply freeing in this idea. What you hide also contains what you seek. Your suppressed anger? It can become the fuel for action, the courage to set boundaries, the ability to say no. Your old shame? It can turn into compassion, authenticity, a deeper connection to humanity. The shadow is not your enemy. It's raw energy waiting to be directed. When integrated, it becomes your fuel, creativity, leadership, clarity. Individuation, the journey to yourself. Jung called this process individuation. It's the great inner journey of a lifetime. Not to become someone else, but to become fully yourself. No masks, no copies, no constant adjustment. It's the alignment between who you are, what you feel, what you do, and what you show the world. And the beauty is, you don't get lost on this path. You find yourself. The shadow in creativity, love, leadership. When you look at great works of art, unforgettable speeches, life-changing moments, you notice something. They don't come from a place of perfection. They come from a place of truth, a place that's dark, powerful, and complex. The best therapists have faced their own demons. The greatest leaders have wrestled with their shadows before lifting others. The most touching artists speak through their scars, not through a polished image. Integrating your shadow means reclaiming your humanity and, paradoxically, becoming greater. What Jung invites us to do. When Jung invites you to meet your shadow, he's not blaming you. He's offering a way to true inner freedom. Not the freedom of appearances, but the freedom of knowing you no longer have to lie to yourself. The shadow is a moral problem that challenges the ego profoundly. Becoming conscious of the shadow is an act of responsibility. And that responsibility isn't a burden. It's a way out, a movement toward wholeness, a return to yourself. So now here's a simple but powerful question for you. What part of yourself have you never dared to face? That feeling, habit, memory, or piece of you hide. Breathe. Listen. Don't judge it. Don't run away anymore. You don't have to share it with anyone else, but you no longer have the right to ignore it. Tell me in the comments, which part of your shadow would you like to start exploring? Subscribe so you don't miss the next step of this inner journey, and share this video with someone who's going through a transformation. you might help them lighten an invisible burden. Conclusion, summary, and final thoughts. He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside awakens. By Carl Jung. We're afraid of our shadow, yet it's inside us, always. You didn't choose to create it. It was shaped by your desire to be loved, accepted, included. As a child, you pushed away what felt unacceptable. You hid your anger, ambition, sadness, and power in the shadows. And what you hide in the shadow, you start projecting onto others. You feel ashamed of it. You run from it as if it defined you. But today, here's what you know. Freedom doesn't come from running away from your shadow. It comes from embracing it. Your shadow isn't your enemy. It's your raw material, your hidden self, your untapped power. You don't have to deny it. You need to listen to it, tame it, honor it, but without letting it control you. And through that work, you become whole. In 3 sentences, we repress parts of ourselves to be loved. Those parts become our shadow. But freedom comes when we consciously meet our shadow. You're not meant to be perfect. You're meant to be complete. And that journey starts now with one honest look inside. Like this video if it helped you put words to feelings you've had for a long time. Subscribe to keep doing this inner work week after week. Share this video with someone still running from their shadow. You might help them start a real change. Comment, which part of yourself do you still refuse to face? Your answer could be the first step toward your freedom. And don't forget to turn on the bell so you never miss a new video. And don't forget, you're not just what you show the world. You are also what you hide. And that's where it all begins. Thanks for being here. And see you soon on Deep Life Lessons.